Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going back to my roots of good old character design, speed paints. I love a good old OC, and today I'll be redrawing my OC Talon. He's one of the OCs in a series I created when I first started this channel, and can you believe it? Both his design and this channel are nearly 2 years old. I started this channel in May of 2024, and it's almost that time. Wow, it really doesn't feel like 2 years, but here we are, and it's time for Talon to get a little update. So yeah, let's see what 2 years of drawing consistently does for his redesign. Alright, so right off the bat, I want to make it clear that I no longer want his name to be Talon. He is a bird character, and Talon is too on the nose for that. It's honestly a horrendous name, so please suggest me some new names in the comments if you have any ideas. In the meantime, I will perhaps continue to call him Talon, but know that I resent it. I think it's a bad name. Please help me out. To be super honest, I wasn't really satisfied with Talon's design when I first created him, so I'm glad I'm finally getting around to redoing it. I think he has really good lore attached to him, and the clothing concept, the original one, isn't horrible. Car honk in the background. But the two things I really wanted to fix in the redesign are his palette and his bird parts. Sorry, I had to say that on the internet. Bird parts. Which is to say, I was a coward when I first drew him. Who cares about the furry allegations? He needs to be more bird and less man. More bird, less man. More bird, less man. So yeah, today's speed paint will be more of an experimentation into how much of a little freak I can make this guy into. Also, if you want to see me crash out over drawing bird feet, this is the video for you, because wow, I never thought I was ever going to have to draw man, bird, man, feet. Say that 3 times fast. Man, bird, man, feet. But here we are, and it was a struggle. His original clothing textures are also admittedly not the best. It's like, I think the layers that I chose were good, the layering, the different skirts and the scarf and the armor, but the quilting on the skirt, yeah, that does not look like quilting. I basically just threw a flat pattern on the skirt and called it good, and even at the time I didn't think it looked that great, but I was kind of at the stage in the piece where I wanted it to be finished, so I got a little bit lazy. And lazy art means that 2 years later, you're like, wow, why did I do this? This looks bad. I also think the mask slash hood slash scarf combination, there's a lot going on in the original. They were just an easy way out for me to not draw a face or hair. So in this version, I'm forcing myself to not only draw a face, but a face in profile. Something that you may have noticed is suspiciously absent from most of my character designs because I'm just not good at it. But, you know, if you're not good at something, you should probably do it to get better at it. So since character design is generally in my wheelhouse, I figured it'd be a good idea to challenge myself with the face angle and the bird elements of the design so that I can say I've learned something after doing all this. Side note, please ignore the chopped profiles happening on the right side of the canvas right now. That first one there, trust me, he will become a beautiful man, but that time is not now. So just trust the process. Everything is gonna work out, guys. Okay, just trust the process. And use references. Those are always super helpful. As for the original palette, I didn't dislike it per se, but purples and red slash clay browns were just really calling to me the day I started planning this piece, this redesign. So the oranges of the original just kind of went out the window. I made a couple versions. I did some swatching to see if I could go with orange and brown in the original, and I just couldn't make it work. The colors were not coloring that day, so we just flipped the palette completely. We can just say that the orange version is earlier on in his life, and the version I'm drawing now is later, which I think actually makes a lot of sense in terms of the story I'm considering for him. The orange was sort of a more polished sort of outfit, Whereas here I haven't quite done it yet, but I'm going for more of a scruffy outfit. I'll add more tatters to the bottom of the skirt area and then some bandages to just kind of make him look like he's gone through it a bit more. I did keep the wings pretty similar in color though, because I'm sticking with the inspiration of the wings being hawk's wings. The only difference this time is that I actually used references. Fun fact, if you use references, things look better. So the colors end up being a bit more varied and the placement of the colors is a lot better than before, but it's still more or less the same colors. But yeah, that's about all the planning that went into this design. Usually if I'm creating an entirely new character, I get inspiration from Pinterest first and then sketch a design in my sketchbook and then start on a digital piece. But since I had a baseline for this one, which is to say I kind of already knew what the planning part was going to be, the earlier parts of planning didn't really feel as necessary. Oh my god, guys. Language. Incidentally, here's a little page through of the Pinterest board I made for Talon, so you can see the sorts of vibes I was going for, both this time and when I originally created him. I don't think any of these images are AI, hopefully not. I hate the AI slopification of Pinterest and this artist hell we live in. It's so hard to look at something on Pinterest and be like, oh, that's nice. Did a real human make it though? Because if a real human didn't make it, actually it's not nice and I hate it in every single way. I've tried some alternatives to Pinterest and kind of been unimpressed so far, so if y'all have any recommendations for that, please let me know, because you know, reference is a very important part of making art, but when it's not made by a human being, the references, then it takes a lot of the fun out of it for me. So yeah, any Pinterest alternatives that are AI free or ways to make Pinterest AI free, I would really appreciate any recommendations regarding that. I also decided to spice up this character design by adding 2 portraits. I guess in the original design, I hadn't really started making full-fledged character sheets yet, but now if I don't add those extra portraits or weapons or things like that, I feel like something's missing. So this piece will have a full body illustration plus 2 portraits, one with a mask and one without, so we get a better look at the facial features and the details. Hopefully someday I'll have the bandwidth to spruce up these character sheets even more, because I really like the look of D&D-esque character designs that have like lots of little trinkets and facts and alternative outfits on the page that a lot of artists like to make. I'm just so inspired by those kinds of designs. But seeing as this piece took me 10 hours for some reason, I'm going to have to refine my painting process a bit more before that becomes a reality, because I can honestly only spend so much time on an illustration before I feel like moving on from it. And yeah, I kind of hit my max with this one, so I felt like adding more stuff, but I was also like, you know, it's time to move on. Once I'm done with this, I'm done. Once I sketched and painted in the flats for this piece, I realized pretty quickly that, as per usual, I am altogether too impatient for detailed line art. Classic me. So I pretty much went straight into the overpainting. I don't have my layer names visible in this video, I believe, because I'm sort of switching out my recording process, but I pretty much created a layer over every other layer, named it Fuck It We Ball, and just like started painting over the parts that I thought would be fun to paint, like the hands and the scarf. For some reason, hands are really fun for me to paint, only if they're like monster hands. So I never have any problems with hands like these, and I don't mind it. When it's human hands, I'm like, all bets are off. That is a reference necessary moment. He's going to be holding his sword loosely in his left hand while looking down at his right hand, being like, whoa, are these my hands? Did I always have bird hands? I used to have human hands, like what's up with this? So yeah, I really like to create characters in dark fantasy worlds with sad backstories, and Talon has not escaped that pattern whatsoever. His lore is pretty much unchanged from last time, but I'll talk about it again here to spare you all from watching the original speed paint. I mean, hey, actually watch my videos, watch all of them, and comment and like all of them, please. But honestly, yeah, if you don't, just okay. Talon, like some of my other characters, is set in a world in which there are a set of ancient relics, yet to be named the set of ancient relics, but they are ancient and they are relics. Most of them are weapons, and in this case, the relic Talon gets a hold of is the sword that I have yet to draw in his left hand, but will eventually exist. Each of these relics grants its bearer certain boons, which of course do not come for free, because it is my world that I have created. The longer the bearer is bonded with the relic, the more power they gain, but the more unstable they become. In the case of this particular sword, the wielder gains the power of flight and some wind manipulations, and obviously some more bird-aspected appearances. But yeah, that's definitely the downside, is that they start gaining the attributes of a hawk, which is like, obviously the physical attributes are depicted here with the wings sprouting from his back and his hands and feet becoming clawed. But, you know, it looks cool. He's aura maxing really, really well, but it's not got to be a very pleasant experience. I can imagine having your hands growing feathers and becoming clawed and becoming out of shape. Pretty painful, especially the feet too. Like, he only has 4 digits now on his feet, and feet have 5 toes, so that can't be fun. Same thing with the wings. But there are also some changes to his mannerisms as he starts to lose the ties to what's keeping him human. At first, it's just his body language being sort of off, like jerky and pinched motions like those of a bird, things like that. But over time, he begins to lose the capacity for human speech until one can hardly tell he was even human in the first place. As he is depicted here, I don't think we're quite so far along as that. He can still use human language, but he's definitely getting towards the more bird parts of his life. These relics aren't really something you choose. Rather, once it's in your possession, the only way you can give it up is through death. So while Talon may have originally used the sword for good intentions, I imagine that he's probably regretting sacrificing his humanity for the ability to fly. That maybe not the best of choices, but when you're in a pinch, you just gotta choose the ancient cursed sword. That's just how it works. One of the things that I think makes this fantasy world pretty dynamic is considering the possible succession wars for the relics, since they can only be acquired through the death of the previous bearer. It may be that some of these relics are passed down through bloodlines, like a family inheritance, while some are fought over and switch off bearers pretty often. It all depends on the nature of the relic and whether or not its drawbacks are something that can be weathered over a lifetime. There was another concept that I'm still playing with that's like a puppet master. So the relic in question is these rings that are attached to strings, and you're able to control others with it. But the more you use it, your hands start rotting off, which is crazy. Maybe you start becoming a puppet yourself, things like that. So I have like a Pinterest board for that, and that's a character that I really want to make in the future, but it just hasn't quite come together. But that's another relic that I think will be interesting to add to the list sometime. Naturally, some relics are more coveted than others, so the ones with more perceived value change hands more often if they're not guarded safely. I think this particular sword, once again, need to name the sword. Please comment and name the sword for me. It is actually a pretty low tier relic because the drawbacks are just too high for what you're getting. So maybe Talon found it in disrepair, maybe it was left somewhere just so other people wouldn't use it when he was younger, and he found it, and in a pinch he was pushed into using it at some point, so now he is where we see him now. I have one other character, Ensa, who is the original bearer of their relic, so you can imagine that they're pretty unhinged because they've been alive for a very long time, but I think they're one of the coolest characters that I've created in this fantasy world. The lore of this world and the naming conventions aren't really fleshed out, but I like to think about these sorts of things whenever I draw a character, just to see how they might fit into the world I've made for them, and maybe their lore will give me helpful cues for how they should be designed, what they should look like, maybe what their pose should be, because that says a lot about their personality. As we get closer to finishing this character design, or redesign rather, I feel like it fits much better with the other relic bearers I've drawn this far, at least thematically. I'll throw them up on the screen so you can see all of them next to each other. I think their proportions are kind of weird when I put them all next to each other, partially because Ensa and Talon are meant to be like inhumanly tall, but other than that, I think they're pretty good. The other designs, there aren't really any that stand out to me as something I feel an urge to redo or re-explore. I'm still really happy with Ensa, who's the tall one with the tattered black clothing, and the Knight of Tarnished Mirrors. So yeah, we shall see if I expand this little band of characters or if I design something completely unrelated. If y'all have any input on that front, I'd love to hear it as well. But yeah, on this redesign, I have pretty much just good things to say. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think I've definitely got better at rendering and putting a character sheet together. I'd say maybe the one thing I could have paid more attention to is that the pose is a little bit stiff. Since I'm not really that familiar with drawing characters in profile, making a full pose that is in profile, like looked at from the side, just the dynamics, it's not as dynamic of a pose as I would have liked, but other than that, I think everything looks super cool, so I'm really happy with it. And with the time I have left, usually I would do a book corner where I talk about a fantasy novel I've been reading recently, and I haven't done that in forever, so I really want to. But since I'm nearing the 2nd anniversary of the channel, I just kind of want to talk about some of the things that I'd like to do this year, since, you know, little YouTube, little digital monkeys turning 2. Oh, 2 years old. What can a 2-year-old do? Talk? Walk? I don't know. I don't know anything about children. So obviously, like this, I'd really like to continue character design. I just love making fantasy character design. It scratches a little itch in my brain. I do want to branch out more into more like urban fantasy, kind of modern AU, but maybe like, you know, some fun like Halloween AUs, like this person is just a girl, she's just a girl, but she's also a witch or a vampire or something like that, because I've just been having some really strong vibes for Halloween recently. I also want to redesign some elements of my channel. Like, I'm thinking it's time for a persona redesign. It's been 2 years. I like my little chibi persona, but she's just not my style, honestly, so I think I'll make a pretty big video on that. And then other elements of my channel, like maybe a channel background, the end screen I want to personalize a bit more, little things like that. Maybe brush up on my editing, all the things that come together to make a good video that honestly I don't necessarily think about for being important to YouTube, but are indeed important to YouTube and making videos look fun and cool, and so that you guys can enjoy them more. But yeah, if you guys have any like drawing request prompts for me, anything you'd like to see, I'd really love some input. As the channel gets a little bit bigger, I'd really like to connect with you all more. So yeah, as per usual, thank you for watching. I hope you like this design. Here it is, all finished and pretty and polished, and much better than the one from 2 years ago. But yeah, let me know what you thought. If you liked the video, like it. Or, you know, if you have some input, just write a comment, whatever you feel like. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!